2020. I ask everybody to bear with me because I'm obliged to read the following statement. As Chair of the Board of Assessors, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 20-4, this body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We're utilizing WebEx through the city's IT department for this electronic meeting. All members of the Board of Assessors have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen into the meeting through dialing the following number: 978-990-5298. Once again, that number is 978-990-5298, and using the password 273974. Once again, the password is 273974. The public may also view the meeting on Comcast Channel 16. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. Previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashuanewhampshire.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Nashua Public Library. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049. Once again, that number is 603-821-2049, and they will help you connect. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting is adjourned and rescheduled. Okay, all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, the reason they're not able to attend the meeting in person, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Also, Mr. Early.
Bob Early, I'm abiding by the governor's executive order to stay at home. I'm a member of the Board of Assessors. There's no one home with me at this time.
Bergeron.
I'm Paul Bergeron, a member of the Board of Assessors, and following the governor's advisory to stay home, I'm joining the meeting remotely from my home, and no one else is in the room with me.
And Daniel Hansberry, a member of the board and chairman of the board, and I'm following the governor's advisory to stay home, and there is no one in the room with me. Today, we will be hearing various requests as listed on the agenda. Please note that decisions may be taken under advisement, and involved parties will be notified at a later date. For the City of Nashua bylaws, a minimum of 2 or more affirmative votes are required to approve any application. In addition, this board will hear any and all scheduled cases as long as quorums of 2 voting board members are present at this meeting. Any citizen has the right to contest the decision that the board makes. To appeal a municipality's decision on an abatement application, a taxpayer may appeal to either the Board of Tax and Land Appeals or to the Superior Court, but not to both. Contact the assessing department for more information. Mr. Cameron, are there any changes to today's agenda?
There are none.
Does anyone have any questions before we begin? Seeing none, we will proceed. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the minutes of the Board of Assessors meeting 2020? I'm sorry, of May 21st, 2020, accept them and place them on file.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any errors or corrections? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Early?
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the non-public session, May 21st, 2020, except to place them on file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Are there any errors or corrections? All those in favor signify, all those in favor, I'll now call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. So minutes are adopted. All right, new business. At this time, I will recognize Ms. Kimberly, the Administrative Services Director for a division update. Ms. Kleiner.
Good morning. If it's acceptable with the board, I'd like to share my screen.
Go right ahead.
So this morning I have sent the board this update this morning. Attached to this update are a number of items. The first being a letter that we shared with Mayor Donchis and the Board of Aldermen regarding the new temporary procedures that you approved at the board on May 21st. Those temporary policies being in lieu of inspections, interior inspections for the abatements and the building permit process. They have been posted to the assessing page on the city website. The second attachment is the May issue of the Assessing Monthly Monitor, which was released this past Monday and is also available on the website. The third attachment is the status report dated May 23rd from Vision Government Solutions on the full revaluation. Later in the meeting, we'll be joined by June Perry, project manager for Vision, who will provide further details on the project. And we thank Ms. Perry for joining us today. The fourth is a map that was created by Pam Andruskevich, our GIS technician, to assist with the discussion on the full revaluation. And later, while Ms. Perry is speaking, we will display that map. The past few months and the months ahead are challenging and exciting for the assessing department. Staff will continue to work remotely, alternating days within the building as needed. Last evening, the Finance Committee, a subset of the Board of Aldermen, approved a contract with Dennis Myers, a public architect, excuse me. This firm will be providing architectural services for the redesign of 4 departments within City Hall: motor vehicles, assessing, tax, and the city clerk. We had an assessment done by our Emergency Operations Safety Committee. They did a walkthrough of the entire City Hall building as well as other public buildings owned by the city to ensure that we were in compliance with CDC social distancing policies. And what we found was in these 4 department areas, motor vehicle, tax, city clerk, and assessing, we would not be meeting social distancing policies set forth by the CDC. The project that we're asking Mr. Myers, his firm, to complete is the architectural drawings and the specifications so that we can set out to bid for a general contractor that will perform the actual work. The project will include creating customer service areas within all 4 departments that do comply with CDC social distancing, both for our employees and for the residents that these departments serve. We have a tight deadline on this project from start to finish. The project is using gopher funds, which are state funds that have been handed down for COVID relief. The project completion is scheduled for the end of August. So we'll have more on this project as it continues. I hope that after the architectural firm has designed the conceptual drawings that we could give you an update on those. I mentioned last meeting that the city is currently reviewing software for the digital hosting of all property record files. The software that we have been reviewing is named DocuWare. We did have a meeting with all division directors this past Tuesday, looking to see how many other departments within the city would be interested in using this software. The product had very good reviews from other division heads. Currently, we're in discussion with a local vendor. We'll move forward with drafting a contract. We are in receipt of a proposal, and we'll set up a creation of a project timeline. Again, this is critical, and it's an emergency purchase so that our staff that are working remotely can access our property record files. As you know, we are in process of hiring for a chief assessor. And what I can share at this time is that we expect to have an update at your June 25th meeting. Lastly, the assessors are working very hard, making considerable progress on all the 2019 abatement applications. We expect to have the majority completed for your June 25th meeting. For those of the public that don't know, generally in the summer, we have the normal first week of the month meeting for the board, and then we will have the last or the second meeting on the last Thursday of the month, which is June 25th. We don't feel at this point that we need any additional meetings added to the calendar. During July, when the board switches over to their one monthly meeting, we have invited Patriot Properties to the July meeting to provide an overview of AP5, the upgraded CAMA system. We will confirm their attendance and give you a little bit more information at the June 25th meeting. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Director Kleiner?
I have one, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead.
Kim, during these renovations, I know the focus is going to be on CDC social distancing guidelines. But will the architect also be considering ADA requirements? Because I know our counters in some of the offices really don't provide wheelchair access or counter space that can accommodate people that might need to be seated.
A very good point. Yes. So that was, as you might remember, when we put together the assessing improvement plan over a year ago now, we talked about redesign of the office. And one of the issues was the fact that the customer service area wasn't ADA compliant. What we hope to do is to combine the plans from then and incorporate those with the social distancing protocol that has now come forward, and really make an integrated plan. We need some improvements within the assessing department, some layout improvements, which include access to different areas. The initial discussion with the architect does show that we will need a whole new customer service area design. So we will make sure that customer service area has ADA accessibility.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Director Kleiner?
No,
Thank you very much, Ms. Kleiner. Okay, next, I'd like to recognize Deputy Corporation Counsel Celia Leonard, who's going to discuss Board of Tax and Land Appeals decisions that have been handed down. Attorney Leonard.
Good morning. The decisions I believe were provided. I apologize. I did not know this was put in public session. Other than saying these are the public decisions, my analysis can wait until we go into a non-public for advice of counsel. The board, of course, had the decision for the city to appeal. Appeal is only if there's something legally inaccurate or that the city may take issue with. I don't mind saying in public session that I don't believe that there's anything in either decision that would lend itself to this wanting to appeal either decision. But like I said, I have some other thoughts, but they're more suited for non-public.
So that at the conclusion of the public business, we would go into non-public session. Is that your desire?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. I would at this time recognize June Perry, who's a representative for Vision Government Solutions, which is the company that's conducting the citywide reevaluation. Ms. Perry, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Good morning. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for having me here today to join you, just to give you this update on our team and how we're doing. So I just wanted to let you know that the crew is doing great. Oh, I was waiting for Tim to get the wards out there, so hold on one second. They're currently in Ward 3, and they've completed Ward 1 and Ward 2 already, and we're just starting off into Ward 3. So we're moving along well. They're getting positive interactions with homeowners, so that's been good. We're doing exterior only. Again, just a reminder that these data collectors that are out there in the field, they're practicing social distancing. They're also wearing transparent vests while they're out there, and they have lanyards. They have their IDs. So when they speak to people and they go to their door, they're walking back 6 to 10 feet. And it's really been overall a good, positive reaction from the public. They've been good and glad that we're doing just the exterior onlys, and we're explaining that we'll be doing the interiors hopefully next time, sometime next year when this is past us. At this point, we're approximately 25% complete. We are on goal to reach our 50% by the end of the year, which was what we had established at the beginning of the year. So that's good. And then in June, we're scheduled to start the data entry. So we'll be testing, getting into the database and, capturing all the images that we've been taking for all these properties and beginning to make the data entry changes. That's pretty much where we're at. We haven't started the commercials yet, but we'll be starting that within the next couple of months. At the beginning, we typically start with just all the residential to get ourselves established because we have 25,000 plus residential to do and only a couple thousand commercials. Does anybody have any questions that they have for me?
Any questions for Ms. Perry?
No.
Ms. Perry, I have a question for you, but I want to put it in a context so you understand why I'm raising it. Hudson, which is just across the river from us, they're in the process of building a major $230 million project for 3 logistical warehouses. And this is just a hypothesis on my part, but my guess is it was 25 or 30 years ago that those warehouses would be coming to Nashua for a couple of reasons. We still had developed land that it could be built on. And the second reason is at that time, there was no direct access from Hudson to the Everett Turnpike. So I guess logically, it wouldn't make sense to put logistical warehouses where you didn't have easy access to the Everett Turnpike if you're in southern New Hampshire. So that would really significantly increase tax rolls. And the other thing I want to say or read to you is this, I'm going to read a passage that was in the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday. And it says roughly 100,000 US stores are expected to close over the next 5 years, more than triple the number shut during the 2007-2009 recession. As e-commerce jumps to a quarter of US retail sales from 15% last year, financial services firm UBS Group AG estimates. Real estate research firm Green Street Advisors LLC forecasts that more than half of all mall-based department stores will close by the end of 2021. As you probably know, Nashua is a retail mecca for this area of New England, and that kind of news doesn't bode well. So my question is this: when you come into a community that has the amount of value that Nashua has, speaking in round numbers, $10 billion, is there a rule of thumb in the industry when you do a citywide evaluation like this that you will discover a certain percentage of value that is not on the books? Is there a guideline of like 5% or 3 to 7%, that kind of thing? Could you respond to that, please?
Sure. There's not a rule of thumb. So it all depends on what the construction is that's ongoing in the city. The goal hopefully would be, though, since we are visiting every single property, that whatever is going on out there, we're going to find it. So if it's there and it hasn't been picked up, we'll be picking it up, and we'll be doing a full field review once this is all complete. But that's down the road. So, but I do not have a percentage that I could just give you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Ms. Perry. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Okay. So there are no communications. Next person on the agenda is Ms. Mazerol regarding credits, veterans credits. Ms. Mazerol.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. For veterans credits, I have just 4 that I recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions on the veterans credits? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the veterans credits as recommended per the attached list?
Also move.
Has left the meeting.
Is there a second? Is there a second to Mr. Bergeron's motion? Also to the veterans credits. Did I hear a second?
A second.
Okay, all right. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the veterans credits as recommended per the attached list. I'll call the roll. Mr. Early?
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry? Yes, the motion is adopted. The next item is veterans credits with a recommendation of denial. So is there a motion to deny the veterans credits as recommended, or the veterans credit, singular, as recommended per the attached list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Mr. Early?
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes, the motion is adopted. And that concludes your report, Ms. Mazerol?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Mazerol,
Yes.
before you go, did we find out what the city taxpayers office, treasurer taxpayers office, tax collector's office uses when determining the value of automobiles?
Louise, you mentioned it. Do you remember what that was? We talked about that.
Yeah, that's actually why I had Lindsay here the last meeting. But I can have her note what they use in motor vehicle and get back to you on that.
Okay,
Can we get an email on that?
Did you, or can you?
I remember seeing one.
I don't think so. We didn't send it anyway, but we can certainly touch base with Lindsay and have her write something up for us.
okay.
Thank you.
Very much. All right. Ms. Cameron,
Good morning.
good morning. You have the charitable exemptions, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The list that you have before you are removed. We have not got the new ones to you yet. They'll probably be in the whole list in next week.
You're not coming through real clear. I don't know why, but
Yeah. I'm sorry, let's try again.
okay, let's go. Go ahead.
What you have now are renewal of the charitable. The balance of the new ones, the renewals will be presented at the next.
Okay, you're still not coming through clear, Lynn, but I think I caught most of it. I have one question. The Town of Dunstable Conservation Commission, is that because the city of Nashua was the town of Dunstable at one point, or is that actually the town of Dunstable, Massachusetts?
That, I believe the town of Dunstable, Massachusetts. Is that correct, Louise? You're more familiar with them. I'm still in the learning, so I apologize.
Yeah. Louise Brown with the Assessing Department. That is correct. That parcel is owned by the town of Dunstable, and they file every year on that parcel for the exemption.
So it's a parcel of land owned by the town of Dunstable that's within the Nashua city limits. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Is that unusual?
It is, yes.
And we've been doing this for a number of years, have we?
Yes, we have.
Okay, that's interesting. Are there other questions from the board?
No other questions.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the charitable exemptions as recommended per the attached list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor, I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Bergeron, I apologize. Mr. Bergeron
All right. Yes.
and Mr. Hansberry, yes. So the motion is adopted. All right, thank you, Ms. Cameron.
Thank you.
All right, so at this point, I would like to recognize Mr. Gary Turgis, who will be presenting abatement applications to the board. Mr. Gary Turgis, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
The first abatement that I have is for 32 Spring Cove Road in Nashua, New Hampshire. There were data errors with this property record card. An inspection was performed on the property prior to COVID, the COVID-19, so an interior inspection was done. And the following errors were found and corrected. The bedroom count was changed from 2 bedrooms to 1. 100% gas, hot air was changed to 50% gas heat with hot air and 50% electric heat with radiant electric. 100% central air was changed to 50% central air. The finished basement was changed from 440 square feet to 324 square feet. And the unfinished basement was changed from 100 square feet to 216 square feet. All in all, these corrections lowered their assessment from 166.4 to 151.1. And I would like to recommend an approval to the new assessment, to a new assessment of 151.1.
Are there questions for Mr. Turgis?
No questions.
No.
Mr. Turgis, this is unusual to have this number of corrections, isn't it?
Yes, I'm not sure why the errors were on there. Most of the units out there do have 2 bedrooms, but this one, there is one style out there that only has 1. The other area is a loft area on the second floor. The heating system on this was only put in for the first floor, and later on a radiant was put in for the second. Again, I'm not sure why that was done at the time. And the central air was only ran through the first floor. So those errors were never picked up. And it looks like the basement area, finished versus unfinished, was estimated back some time ago when the unit was built.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 32 Spring Cove Road to $151,100?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Motion is adopted. Mr. Turgis?
All right, the next one, abatement that I have is for the property at 14 Mount Laurels Drive, Unit 104. In this case here, this is a garden-style condominium in the high-rise buildings out in Sky Meadow. This is building 14. The first 3 floors of this building each have 4 units. The 4th floor, which is the top floor, has 3 units. Therefore, the top floor units are larger than the other 12 that are in the building. In this case here, this is one of the units that is on the level where there are 4 units. Therefore, the finished area is 1,900 square feet. Taxpayer felt the market value of the property was $425. He supplied some sales in Mount Laurel's neighborhood. The city agreed with the taxpayer in this case that the market value should be close to around on or about the $425 mark for a market value, and applying the state ratio of 88.8% brings a equalized value of $377.4. City recommends approval to an updated assessment of $377.4.
Any questions for Mr. Turgis?
I have one question. I noticed we have 3 appeals or abatement requests in the same building. Is that, did we put these together, at the same time, or did they come in like that?
No, they came in separately. Each one of them came in at a different time. I can probably give you the exact times that they came in if you bear with me. I'll find the abatements here.
No, I was curious if it was a concerted effort on, a group of people in the building, or just coincidence that.
I think it's a coincidence. I don't believe it's a concerted effort on the people in the building. One of the taxpayers is currently out in California. Another one of the taxpayers is currently in Florida and due to COVID, has been unable to get back to Nashua. And the third resident is actually in Nashua, living in the unit that he owns.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 14 Mount Laurels Drive, Unit 104, to $377,400?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. The motion is adopted. Mr. Turgis?
Okay, the next abatement that I have is for 14 Mount Laurels Drive, Unit 302. Again, a similar situation. Taxpayer in this case felt that the market value of his property was $388,500. He supplied the city with some sales. He also purchased this property for that same price, $388,500. in September of 2019. He did indicate that there was an estimated value of personal property involved for some furniture of $5,000. There is another property in the building that sold 8 days. I'm sorry, a couple of months prior to that. That's directly below this unit, and that property also sold for $389. Therefore, the city has an indicated market value that the property should be worth $389,000, with the 88.8% equalization percentage that lowers the value or changes the assessed value to $345,400 equalized.
Okay, any questions from Mr. Turgis?
No,
No.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 14 Mount Laurels Drive, Unit 302, to $345,400?
so moved.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Mr. Turgis?
Okay, and the last one that I have is also in Building 14, Mount Laurels Drive. This is Unit 201. It's very similar to the other situations. In this case here, the taxpayer did supply some sales in the Sky Meadow, Mountain Laurels neighborhood. The city's analysis, we feel that the assessment was out of line. Feel that the market value of the property is the same 425 that one of the previous ones was at, and we would like to recommend approval for from the city for 377.4, which is the 425 value equalized at the 88.8%.
Are there questions for Mr. Burgess?
I have a question. It seemed like it's a big reduction from its previous assessed value. Is there some reason it was so far off? It's originally was 500,000, over 500,000.
No, I have
market
assessed value of 444.6.
Right, but the market value was over 500, and now it's down to 425. So it seems like a big jump from one condominium unit.
Well, the other one, the market value that we show for this is 425. I'm not sure where are you getting the 525 by applying the ratio to the assessment?
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I've noticed on these summary sheets. Sometimes the assessment number is there, and then what the owner says his market value is. We have to go back and figure out, okay, what was the original market value then? It would be better if these all had the same consistent format, so that either have everything in market value, and then at the end go to the assessed value, or do both, so we can. It's more easy to track. So I had to go back, take the 444.6, divide in 88.8, and come out with a market value of over 500,000. So then I can compare.
Okay.
Then I can compare it to
So that
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. The market value of the 525 is based on an assessment that is
Well, it was $500,675.
Right. Right. If you take that amount, you'll see that there are absolutely no sales in this for this building in particular that are over $445,000.
Right.
So that market value of $500,000 and $500,000 that you just stated is an error based on the analysis that was done for the abatement and the sales information that we have.
Okay.
Mr. Turgis, it must be easier to assess these types of properties than assessing individual single-family homes, because there's so far less variation. Is that a correct assumption or not so?
Typically, yes, but in Sky Meadow, because of the quality of the units and what have you, some people go in and as soon as they purchase it, they make major changes to it. And some of the units that have been purchased prior to 10, 15 years ago, there have been no updates at all. You would be surprised that going into two different units in the same building, the two units could be mirror images of each other and on the same floor level, and they could be totally different in value just based on kitchen updates, bathroom updates. These buildings were built, this building in particular was built in 2000, so the units are now 20 years old. There are some of the units out there that are still original to what was built in 2000. And there are some that have been updated as recently as 2018, 2019. There were four other buildings, the high rises out in Sky Meadow. Building 10 and 12 was built in the 80s. Those vary even more dramatically than this building, as some of the units still have the same baths and kitchens that were put in the 1980s, and others have been updated as, again, in the late 20-teens, as 2018 or 2019. So typically, yeah, when they're first built, they are all basically cookie cutters. They're all fairly the same. But as the years go by, you can find large variations in the units and in the value of the units.
Is there any room left for development at Sky Meadow? Or is it just
No, Sky Meadow is all built out.
Completely built out? Okay.
Completely built out.
All right, thank you. Okay,
You're welcome.
anything else, Mr. Turgis?
No.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 14 Mount Laurels Drive, Unit 201, to $377,400?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All right, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Anything else for us, Mr. Turgis?
No, that's all I have for this meeting. Thank you
Okay,
very
thank-
much.
Mr. Chairman? Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
yes.
My staff items also list Unit 302.
He did them out of order.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I'm sorry I did them out of order.
No,
I thought I had them.
Yours are in perfect order. It's just, it's the order in which they were on the agenda. You do in any order you want, Mr. Turgis.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Apologize for that.
We
Yeah.
pride ourselves on our flexibility.
Okay.
All right. Unfinished
Have a
business.
great day.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfinished business. We all received a letter from a citizen relative to public comment. And I had a phone conversation with Director Kleiner earlier in the week to get a sense of what's happening citywide. And the other boards, or the other City of Nashville boards, are continuing to progress at this point, holding the meetings without public comment because of the extraordinary circumstances under which we are living and under which the meetings are being held. Is there any objection to that going forward on a temporary basis while we're meeting out here in cyberspace?
No, I don't have any objections, and continuing the way we're doing it, hopefully we'll only have one or two more meetings in this context, and we'll be able to go back to allowing public comment in a public setting.
Mr. Early, are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine. Paul, you think it's only going to be one or two more meetings?
I sure hope so.
Well, hope is one thing, but I just didn't know if you'd heard anything.
Well, no, I'm thinking that we'll only have one meeting scheduled again in June and one in July. I don't know how much longer this will continue. It sounds like, based on renovations and comments from the governor, that as we head deeper into summer, some of these restrictions are going to be loosened up.
Okay.
But it is hopeful. It's not, I don't have any insider knowledge.
Very good.
Okay. All right, so we'll continue with the format that we've been using. There are no other appointments coming before us. Comments by board members? Any comments by board members?
I have nothing.
Okay. All right. So we have 2 reasons to go into non-public session. So is there a motion to go into non-public session for the following 2 reasons? First, to discuss matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant pursuant to RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical C, and second under 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical 1, for the consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel, either in writing or orally, to one or more members of the public body, even where legal counsel is not present.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. So, Ms. Cameron, based on my computer, we are in non-public at 9:46 a.m. And then seal the minutes of the non-public session because divulgence of the information likely would, one, affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the public body, and two, render the proposed action ineffective.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Okay. And is there any other business to come before the board today? All right, so is there a motion to adjourn?
No, you need to vote on the abatement
On
settlement.
settlement, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so is there a motion relative to the settlement? Because you want, what, besides 18 and 19, you'd like subsequent years included, correct?
It is. You could do a motion to approve the settlement agreement as presented, and that has all the years in it for tax years 2018, 19, and if there's no change to the property, the 20 and 21. But this motion to approve the agreement will capture all of that.
So is there a motion to approve the settlement as presented for the property located at 546 Amherst Street in the amount of $1,422,000? Does that capture it, Attorney London? Can't hear you.
Yes, that works.
Yes, okay, all right.
So
So
moved.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? All right, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Motion is adopted. All right. Anything else to come before us in public session? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. So we are adjourned at 10:05 a.m. And I'm going to stay on because we're going to meet with non-public, but